Hi guys, Chess Learning for Life here, back with another video. So today we're bringing back this series of my tournament games, and this time is game 2 of my second tournament. And this time I'm playing as white against an opponent rated 1670. And let's hop right into the game without further ado. And so this is a Queen's Gambit declined, and he goes for a sideline, a6. So what's the idea behind a6? Basically, it's like if I play knight f3, he would take, and if I want to gain back the pawn, he can support it with b5. Because now a6 supports b5, and b5 supports c4. So here, the best move is either the move played in games c takes d5 or e5, which after takes, this structure is okay for white, but then there's bishop b4 check. And then this will transpose into some Nimzo Indian, which is fairly equal. But in the game, I went for takes. Now here I'm already out of theory. Like, I've never played the exchange Queen's Gambit decline before, and I just went for piece development. Here e4 is still very good. After takes, if his queen comes here, my queen can unpin. And basically this is just playing with the isolated queen's pawn after takes. Like here, takes. If queen e7, I could even go bishop d3 and then queen e2, because if f5, then I just castle, and there's very much compensation for a piece sack, because look at all of black's pieces. King is castled, rooks, queens are ready to come out in all directions, and so e4 is still a very good idea, but normal development bishop f4 is still very good. Now you may say that white has a developmental lead, but black has the queenside majority, and this is a very static position. Like, there's no play even if my pieces are very developed. And here he already neutralizes one of my pieces. Now bishop g3 is an option, but after takes, white is not any better. So here, even bishop g5 and then queen c7 is also not good. So I didn't have any other choice but to take the bishop and play e3. Now long term, if I can set up a minority attack, which is basically like a3 b4, rook b1 a4, and then b5. And basically this minority attack is trying to get isolated bd pawns or a backward c pawn. Cause imagine like the pawns here, and a rook here. So in this position, if black doesn't budge, then I can take on c6. If his knight moves somewhere away, like knight d7, then this c pawn after takes would be a backward pawn, and then I can pile up some pressure. And if black, for example, like takes with the a pawn and takes with the b pawn, like pretend knight takes, now this isolated b and d pawns are very weak. But for a minority attack to be successful, normally needs to be some prevention of the move c5. But the thing about c5 is after takes, black is still left with an isolated queen's pawn. So that's the minority attack, if you are interested. Now back to the game. Knight e7 is a very sus move. This guy is just playing sidelines, but I don't know how to punish him, so yeah, that's kind of the issue. Now knight f6 is more of a more normal idea, but knight e7 also has its pros. The thing being supporting an f5 f4 push, and after bishop d3, immediate bishop f5. But bishop d3 was still the best move. After bishop f5, I could go like even go queen b3 and hunting for his rook. Or I could even just take first and then go queen b3 and then castle with a very solid position. Or you can even, I can like not go queen b3 and set up a minority attack like I've just said before. But the move I was worried about was bishop g4. And I was worried about this because I was like, how do I unpin myself? Because after queen b3, bishop takes knight. But then after queen takes b7, how do you save your rook? Like takes rook g1, queen takes, and then long castles here defends the rook. And I win an exchange. But I didn't see this. So I went bishop e2. So he won't go bishop g4. But the thing is, after castles, he has bishop f5. And now my minority attack plan is ruined, because I no longer have rook b1. Therefore, the top move here is knight h4. Like chasing the bishop away from this diagonal. There's no good squares that the bishop can go to. So the best move is just to give up the bishop for the knight. And another thing is maybe bishop e6, but after this, then I can set up my minority attack with this. And although my knight is on h4, it can always return to f3, and it cannot be easily attacked. But here I went for a kind of a mistake concept here is I'm trying to freeze his queenside pawns. You see now he can't even play b5, and if he plays c5, very welcome, takes, plant a queen here, and queen d6, rook fd1, or if takes, knight takes, not pawn takes, because then this just helps black. And because why do you want to take knight? First, this is a very good outpost for your knight. Second, you're leaving black with an isolated queen's pawn, and you're blockading with your knight, blockading the IQP with your knight, and then you can pile up pressure with your rooks. So that's a very brief idea of how to play against the isolated queen's pawn. Is you want to trade more pieces, get into an endgame where you have an advantage because of your opponent's isolated queen's pawn. But here, of course, he doesn't go c5, he goes a5, shutting down the queen side. So I was happy with this, because he wasted 2 tempos on this move instead of going a5 immediately. Second point is now his queenside majority is frozen. But the thing is, he has the half-open e-file. And look at this half-open c-file. There's nothing here. But you may also say, oh, the half-open e-file, but my e3 pawn is well protected. You'll see later in the game why I'm saying that this is a problem for white, and this is not a good idea to go for, of locking down the queen side. because that means, like, although these pawns can't roll, but I can't set up a minority attack anymore, and also it's very hard to win these pawns while he has active counterplay on the king side. So game goes on. Rook a3 was my idea, because I don't want to allow queen b4. If here queen b4, I go rook b3. But then there is knight a6, looking to hop to b4. And I had no other choice but to take it. Take. And now rook b3 is also forced, because I don't want to allow rook b6, right? Now queen c7 defends the pawn, and h3 was kind of unnecessary. It's a modest move, and the main idea is to not allow bishop g4. The whole game I was very scared of this pin, so I just prevent it in one move. And second of all, long term, I'm giving my king luft, so I won't get back rank problems. Here he finds a very nice idea, knight c8. Very well played by my opponent, looking into b6 but more to d6, and looking at c4 and e4, and looking maybe to mobilize his queenside majority with b5 after the knight goes to d6. But here I also have a knight maneuver of myself. It's knight e2, knight d6, knight f4. But knight f4 is fine, but the better idea is to plant on g3, kick this bishop back, go to e5. So maybe it's better on e6. This knight goes to e5, back to d3, and then aim for this c5 square. And if his knights comes to e5, then chop. A knight exchange is good for whites, because black's light squared bishop is the same color as his pawn chain, so a knight exchange is beneficial for white. But my idea was, like, this knight is for defense, this knight is for maneuvering and maybe going into good spots, because I was scared that my king side would get kind of destroyed if I maneuvered this kingside knight. But turns out my plan was worse, and in the end my kingside was still destroyed. Here knight f3, rook e8 was a nothing move. Even rook b8 was better, because I'm sorry, at this moment there's nothing happening in this half open e file. So I continue with my maneuver, knight d3. Now taking away this annoying bishop, he goes f6. I very much like this move. It prevents knight g5 ideas, and it also prevents knight e5. Now he has the leisure to play f6, but I don't have the leisure to play f3, because if I play f3, all these dark squares is gonna get used by my opponent, and my king is very weak. So that's why I say h3 is kind of a weakening move, really. Second of all, even if my pawn was on h2, I couldn't really play h3, because then he'll pile up pressure on my e-pawn. So all in all, he has the better position. Here I went rook c1. I'm trying to look for play in the queen side, but you'll see it's just very well protected. Knight d2. I was trying to prevent knight c4 e4 jumps. If the knight hops in, I'm chopping it immediately. But now I'm just in a defensive stance. Queen f7 was kind of a nothing move. Rook c5 forces it back. Cause or else like queen c5, queen c3, and your pawn is gone. Here queen d8, not queen c7, cause then this blunders a pawn. Cause of this pin. So queen d8 was forced. Now this was not any accomplishment for me. And but this game is still equal, but all chances are to black, because there's absolutely no play on the queen side whatsoever, no matter how hard I try. Now I should have been like, okay, you can get the b file. If you want to play queen b6, you can, but then I would reroute all my pieces back to better squares to like safeguard my king side, and then like moving my pieces back, maybe aiming for c5 with my knight, and just staying solid. But here I was in time trouble because I was playing so slowly, and this was only 60 minutes plus 30 seconds each move. So I was really in time trouble. I was like in 5 minutes here, and I was basically playing with the increment only. So I was just shuffling, but then he finds a very good idea, just g5. You see, just h3, I'm calling it. h3 was the losing move. Like, you saw it, how it just stopped me from playing f3, and now the g pawn is gonna crash in using this h pawn as a hook to open some lines against my king. And look at my rooks just stranded in the queen side, and his knight very well placed on d6. Now it's just how black converts this one. Now I'm still shuffling. Now getting my queen out was a mistake. I had to get my rooks back to the king side for defense. See, but it's just too late. Rook g7, g4 to stop g4 by black. But here just f5 is already winning. I can't take cause then knight takes and his attack is so strong. There's g4 coming. f4 I have to wait for him to take, and then he still has a lot of play after like rook f5, rook f8, and then just blah blah blah. But here he went h6. I think he's just buying some time, saying like I'm making solid moves and you're still losing. So here I tried rook e1. I wanted to play for e4, trying to activate my pieces, get my rook into the game. And this was my last chance to play for draw e4. Now he can't take, because after takes, rook b e3 equalizes. Because now my pieces are active, and if his queen moves away, then I take the knight. And the only way to play for an advantage here is to give up the queen for 2 rooks. But this is really just a draw. If anything, white is better, because look at all these weaknesses. The king, look at these weaknesses, and my king is pretty safe after the queen is off the board. So this is my last chance for e4. I was calculating this, but I was in time trouble and I couldn't really calculate that deep, and I was like, no, that doesn't work. But here f5 still is very good because my pawn is pinned, after like e5, takes, queen g6, blah blah blah, his attack would still thrive. But here I was just shuffling because I was in time trouble, adding more pressure, just stopping e5, rook c2. Now f5 comes and I'm doomed. I can't take, because after takes, the f file opens up, his rook has hammer in. Here I try for the only counterplay on the queen side, but even if I can take this a5 pawn, it means nothing because his king side attack is coming real fast. After takes, now h takes is better. After h takes h5, g takes h5, g4, queen f4, and then like rook f7, queen g3, knight e4. So queen h2. After something like this, I can still survive. But here I took with the queen, and I was trying to like initiate a queen trait. Now a queen trait would equalize. Now computer says not really, but in a human perspective, this still looked fine to me. But then there's rook e4, like something like this, and then his pawns would roll, so like even a queen trait would give him a win. But he finds a very good move, queen g6. Now this assists the pawns on rolling and even attacks my c2 rook. Now I wanted to leave this rook on the second rank for defense. It's gonna be useful later protecting this f2 pawn. And maybe like someday f3 and bring my rook here, but that's just impossible because my e3 pawn is too weak. So here I just went back with my queen, also avoiding h5 with tempo. But now queen f5, and my rook is still attacked, so my queen can't move. Only move king h2. Now rook e4 comes, but queen d3, and I'm still holding. He's still not coming in. Now this rook is pinned, like semi-pinned. The queen is protected, but he doesn't want a queen trait, right? So he goes for queen f3, rook g1, knight f5, stopping rook g3, and here I went for a queen trait in the wrong way. Now here queen d1 was better, but why? Now after knight h4 protecting, knight c5, and here if his rook moves back, and then knight d3, yeah, queen e2. Oh yeah, queen e2 loses to queen takes, rook takes, and this pin, and two pieces under fire. I can't even take this a5 pawn, takes, and now this is totally winning. His rooks are more active than me, much more active than me, and he is one pawn up. But he doesn't find this continuation. Instead, he keeps the queens on the board, which is still very winning. Can't take his fork. Now rook g3, he keeps the queens on the board, and here I didn't know what to do. If I kept shuffling, maybe I could still survive, but then h5 g4 comes. So I went pawn picking. And here knight f5, what's the winning move? Knight f5. And if my rook moves back, then knight takes d4. Just this pin is very annoying on my queen. Therefore, like, queen d1 was much better. But here he slipped and was too fast in converting the advantage that I actually had to move knight takes b7. Now you can't take my knight because then queen h5 comes. And now your rook is hanging. You have to safeguard it. And then now queen takes h6 and whoa, g5 is falling. Now queen g7. Why not this? Oh, because then knight f3 check. But after this, and rook g4, like this, I get 3 pawns for the knight, and the knight is like, in the end game, the knight is worse than 3 pawns, and this could be equalizing for me, but I didn't find this sacrificial idea. I went with rook g4, trying to protect my a4 pawn, but this was a blunder. Takes, no matter which piece I take with the queen, the pawn. There's queen c7 check, and that's GG. I tried f4 and tried counterattacking, but here cold-blooded rook takes e3 and I resigned. So this was a very bad game. I got exploited in an sideline opening that I just did not revise for, and I got all the concepts wrong, and I tried my best, couldn't hold. My rooks were strangled on the queen side, which was part of me getting the wrong concept because I don't know this opening line. And while my rooks were strangled on the queen side, his heavy pieces came to my king's side, and I just couldn't hold. And that's game 2 for you guys. I hope I can come back strong in game 3, and I hope you like this game. Make sure to like and subscribe for more chess content, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.